This is your elementary video for January 27th and 28th. We are still in the curriculum of trusting God or pleasing God, and this week we are pleasing God through our repentance. And so the first thing we're going to do as we start the lesson is you're going to have an object lesson, and you will have a mason jar and a penny. I have a quarter today because I couldn't find a penny. But basically what you need to do is make sure you fill up your mason jar with water. Now, I left the lid off of mine so you could actually see what's going on, but you want to make sure that you fill it with water and cover it for this reason. You will take this quarter or this penny, you'll have a penny, and you will put it underneath the mason jar. And I left it open so you can see, you can absolutely see that quarter in there. However, if you were just looking at it from the bottom, you can see, well, you cannot see the quarter anywhere. And the lesson actually goes through the scientific purpose for that, the reason that is. But what we're saying is that this quarter, this penny, represents our sin, and that you can hide your sin from each other and even from yourself sometimes, but you can never hide it from God. And it's important what we do with our sin. And so today's lesson is all about David and how he handled his sin. And so we're using the story of David and Bathsheba. So it's from 2 Samuel chapter 11. So make sure you're reading through this because this is going to be an interesting lesson. We know the backstory as adults. We know the sin that David committed, the multiple sins that David committed, and we're not going to obviously share the sin that David and Bathsheba committed with each other with our kids because it's not, appropriate content for them. But it is appropriate and is important for us to share David's sin with them because I think sometimes we can make David bigger than he really was. I mean, David was incredible and he is a wonderful hero of the Bible because he trusted God. And through David's life, we see God's hand, and that is amazing. And we want our kids to know that they can be like David and they can defeat their own Goliaths and they can have a heart chasing after God. But I think it's also important that we make sure that they know that David wasn't perfect. Absolutely, because we know that there was only one who was perfect, and that was Jesus. But it's important to know that David was real, and he was just like us. Just like we can defeat Goliath like he did, we struggle with sin just like he does too. And the important part about David's story and David's sin is what David did with his sin. He took it to the Lord, and he asked for forgiveness, and he mourned his sin. And so I think it's important to share that with our kids, to know that David is not a perfect human, that he struggled just like we do, but we can continue to learn about pleasing God through David, even in his ugliness. And that's what this lesson is about today. So you will be telling a bit of the story. You'll tell about David's sin against Bathsheba's husband, but we won't obviously get into the context of why that sin happened. So read through the lesson text and really read through the Bible verses just to kind of prepare your heart for where David was at during this time of his life. And I would also encourage you to read some of the Psalms that are listed in the lesson as well, because these Psalms talk about how he's just devastated by his sin, and it's important for us to understand that so that we can convey those messages to our kids too, because they need to understand how terrible sin is and what a sorrowful thing it is to be ripped away from God's presence because we have sin in us. So after that is over, we're going to be playing a game of paper, rock, scissors, but I created it a little bit differently to go along with the life of David. So you're going to have a shepherd, and you're going to have a king, and you're going to have a warrior. And so the shepherd beats the king, and the king beats the warrior, and the warrior beats the shepherd, just like paper, rock, scissors. And what I would encourage you guys to do is pair up each kid in groups of 2, and then what happens is the winning member of the battle gets to be the leader of the line, and then the kid who didn't win gets to hold on to the back of the other kid, and then they continue to battle other groups to the point where you get 2 really long lines. All the kids are funneled into 2 lines, and you battle shepherd, king, and warrior to see which team wins. And then you can just play that over and over again as long as the kids want to play it. So that is your lesson for this week. We thank you so much for everything that you've done this month. I thank you for your heart and your time and just your commitment to these kids. And we just pray that you will be blessed this Sunday and Saturday night, as will the kids that you're teaching. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.